Hey everybody, welcome to my drawing course, and we're going to start with some fundamentals of drawing, and today we're going to talk about line. From there we're going to go into value, and then we're going to go into shape. And these are all our tools to do all sorts of drawings and create all sorts of characters and creatures and backgrounds and all sorts of things. But today we're going to start with line. I think it's the most essential thing, and we're just going to talk about it and look at some different ways we can use line and different ways that line is used, okay? So what a line is in art. A line is a mark that's made that has more length than thickness. But a line can be made with multiple things. Traditionally, in drawing, we think of just a pencil, but you can use a pen, you can use colored pencils, you can use crayons, Conte crayons, chalk, all sorts of things to make lines with an art. You can make lines with sculpting tools. We can do it digitally with the pen and the stylus, and we can use Photoshop or other drawing tools to make all sorts of different kinds of lines as well. So let's take a look at some ways that lines are used, and let's take a look at some other artwork where artists have made use of line in different ways.
And as you can see, our drawings are made up of a lot of lines, okay? And a lot of times we use it to define the contour of whatever subject matter it is that we're drawing. People, drawing the outline of them, getting the form of the face. It also can provide value, though. We can use lines in all sorts of different ways. And we can get very dark areas with lines, like here. And you can create separation, the illusion of something in front and back. And I say illusion because we're really just making a lot of lines and putting values on a two-dimensional surface. We're trying to represent things that are three-dimensional. So we can do a lot with lines. And you can see here, there's some value in the back, some solid colors, but most of this is just all lines, all sketchy. You can see it defining forms, defining shapes, clothing, all sorts of things. Okay, so here's a whole different style of drawing. Very gestural, very loose, and all just sorts of lines and very expressive line. Like look at the birds, how they're drawn up of just a bunch of scribbles. Okay, so here's another picture by the same artist. Again, very, very loose, but still using all sorts of lines and overlapping them to get some dark areas and some lighter areas and defining the form. But it's more than just getting the outside, the contour. It's also getting form and a little bit of shadow and all sorts of things. Okay, so here's some comic book art, and here we got very, very clean lines, right? So very different than the last kind that we saw. And we can see very crisp, very clean line done with ink. You can see some bold black areas and some lighter areas, and you can see even on the chimney here some some cross-hatched areas to get some value there. Okay, so let's check this out for a little bit here. Now, you can see just with this thin line in the back, we've got a background, right? And you've got these more straight lines that communicate to us something more machined, not something that's like a plant or a person or a creature, but something that feels like man-made, okay? So let's take a look at some of these lines that we're going to be using. So we've got straight lines that we can draw. We can have very angular lines. We can have very smooth lines. You can also have very thick lines. You can also have very thin lines. Straight feels more machined. Angular could feel more dangerous. Curvy can feel more organic. The bold lines will stand out more. Light lines will feel a little more timid or more subtle. And a lot we can do with lines. Another thing about lines is if we have a line going up, where we go the left side down, the right side up, it feels more ascending to us because we read things from left to right in the West, right? Not in all cultures, but that's how we read in this way. So it feels like it's going up. It feels more hopeful, more ascending. Now, if you have a line going like that, the opposite direction, it'll feel like it's going more down, right? Because again, when we're reading left to right, we kind of hit this, and then it goes down as opposed to up. So when we have angled lines like that, it'll feel more dangerous because points feel dangerous to us, right? We've learned that these kind of things can poke us. And opposite to that, if we have very curvy lines, right, it'll feel more smooth, more peaceful, more organic, less dangerous. Okay, scribbly lines can feel messy, right? Can feel disorderly to us. Whereas very even, very straight lines can feel more ordered. They can feel, and also maybe a little more static, maybe a little less exciting. We can also use very bold lines, right, that are going to kind of say something, going to feel more loud and have more of a presence, right? Even if we draw something as simple as a house. Even when you draw the same thing, but with a very thin line, it's going to have a very different feel. Okay, so when we draw, we can use very smooth lines, very confident lines, but sometimes I see students that are not very confident in their line work, and they make very little lines to try and make their nice big smooth line. And it has a different feel to it. It might actually give a feel of fur or some kind of different texture, which is fine if that's what you intend to do. But be aware of how your line makes it feel. We can also use thick to thin lines, which kind of have a very beautiful, kind of elegant feel to them. The weight change can also show us different things in your drawing about the contour, about the way the shape is. So we can use that as well. So we can also make broken lines, and that will also have a different feel, right? An implied line feel. There's no line here, but we've implied a line by a bunch of dots that are broken up. And that'll feel different than just a solid line. We can use this to maybe make things look further away, to fade back, something that is less tangible. There's all sorts of things we can do. So we can use lines to create value, and we can put lines close together and even spread them apart to create like a fade. This is called hatching. And you can crisscross it and create an even darker value. That's called cross-hatching. And it doesn't even have to stop with two lines. We can add multiple directions if we want to get as dark a value as we want to get.
All right, so this whole drawing course will be using lines to create all sorts of different characters, creatures, and backgrounds and different things. And I hope you learned something today, and I'll see you on the next video.